It's a new day dawning, the time is at hand, where the glory of the Lord will be revealed to every man. Open the door, open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in. Open the door, open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in.
Well, let the King of Glory in. Open up the door starts right now. So fling wide, you heavenly gates. Prepare the way of the risen Lord. The Apostle John was on the island of Patmos. He was in prison for the testimony of Jesus Christ, and he heard a sound behind me. He said, I looked. There was a door standing open in heaven. I heard a voice which was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, come up here, and I will show you the things which must take place. That's what we need, my friends. We need a heavenly perspective of the things that are going on in the world around us. The things that the Word of God foretold us would come to pass. Those things which must take place and those things which are taking place even now. That is what this broadcast is all about. Discussing the issues of the day, discerning the times in which we live from a biblical perspective and worldview. Good afternoon, everybody. Andy White here. What you are about to hear is the fusion of heart, mind, and soul. And I just want to thank you all for joining in with me on this very special day. If you are joined in, I am streaming live on my Open Up the Doors Facebook page at facebook.com/faithfm 91.7. That's facebook.com/91.7, faithfm 91.7, I'm sorry. Over at the Open Up the Doors Facebook page. Please join in on the Facebook live streaming that's going on over there, and please share this into your streams as well. Let people know. Let them open up the doors for them. Let them invite them to come in to open up the doors. Please share this around your Facebook page. If you'd like to email me, you can email me at ajwhite777 at iCloud.com. That's ajwhite777 at iCloud.com. And again, I just thank you all for joining in with me all across the fruited plain for this very special edition of Open Up the Doors. Coming up later in the broadcast, I will touch upon the news of the day. I'll touch upon a little bit later the Supreme Court decision with the Colorado baker. And I also want to share later on in the broadcast some thoughts on this past week's March for Life rally and pro-life demonstration that we just had up in Albany, New York. But first, I want to just share with you that this day, today, 4 years ago, was our first broadcast here on Open Up the Doors. Yes, I am celebrating my 4th anniversary of Open Up the Doors. And it's hard to believe, honestly. It's just really, really hard to believe that this broadcast has been going on for 4 years now. And it's been quite a journey, I got to tell you. And it's an ongoing and developing journey, and a journey that I of course, pray continues. And I look forward to increasing and expanding the scope of this broadcast as the Lord brings both the opportunity and the increase. And I need your help to do that, really. I need your help in expanding this broadcast. When you share it on Facebook, when you invite people to the page, when you let people know about Open Up the Doors here on Faith FM. It's really by word of mouth that this broadcast will grow. But I really do thank each and every one of you across the fruited plain. You know, my thoughts are racing because there's so much I could share, and there's so much I almost want to share, but I know I can't in the short time that I have. But when I first began this broadcast, I had some very vague and general ideas of what I wanted to do. And as time went on, however, the broadcast, it obviously took more shape. And I began to see it was actually going in a direction that was true to my core principles and personality. And yet at the same time, the broadcast began to take a form I didn't quite expect or consciously premeditate. And in large measure, it has taken the shape it has taken today, obviously because of my own personality and the things that fire me up, but also because of the feedback from you, the listeners in this audience, at least those of you who have communicated with me anyway. I know there's so many more people that listen to this broadcast than do actually communicate. But I do want to encourage you all to communicate with me. That's why I give you my email address. That's why I tell you to connect with us on the Open Up the Doors Facebook page. If you've never liked the Facebook page, please like it. And also, I'd like to ask you, as an anniversary gift to me right now, today, for those of you who are on Facebook or on your, accessible to Facebook, if you'd please just leave a post about what the broadcast has meant to you through the years. Leave some reviews over there on the review tab of the Open Up the Doors Facebook page. That would be just an added blessing for me today if I could hear from you, my audience, because it's very important for me to hear from you. It really is, both for good and for bad. And yes, I've even taken the criticism I've received at times to heart, because I always want to evaluate and shape and mold this broadcast into a more excellent broadcast, because the pursuit of excellence is a core value of mine, not because of some inordinate pride on my part, but because of the value I place upon the values of credibility and integrity. I really believe, as a people of God, credibility and integrity and character are the highest qualities that we ought to be displaying as Christians, just in general. But having said that, to me as well, I really regard this opportunity to be on the radio for these last 4 years. I regard it as a sacred trust to be able to minister to the people of God. And I believe I owe you. I really do. I'm speaking from my heart. I believe I owe you that sacred trust as given to me by the Lord. And I do want to tell you, you are a faithful audience. I know I got regular listeners that tune in every week. Those that I am aware of, and like I said, those I'm not even aware of, because the vast majority of the people really don't contact you. I'm always running into people all the time. Oh, I listen to your show every week. Oh, it blesses me. And when I hear that, it blesses me. So I do want to tell you, everyone in this audience, that those of you who have been with me from the beginning, those of you who tune in week after week, and also, we've got a lot of new listeners. I've been looking at the Facebook page, and we've been increasing likes. So, the Facebook likes. Please like my page. Please like me. But we've been increasing those likes, and we got new listeners to Open Up the Doors. But whether you're an old listener or relatively new listener, I want you to know how very, very much I appreciate each and every one of you. God gave me this ministry. God literally opened up the doors for this ministry. Like I said, I take it as a sacred trust, and I appreciate those and respect you, the audience. And it is because I respect you, and knowing the things that you are looking for and expecting to hear on this broadcast. Those things I know you want to hear because of the feedback I've gotten from you, as I've expressed, that I strive to bring to you useful and accurate information and reporting, along with, I hope, thoughtful and insightful commentary. I hope it's insightful. That's what I strive for as well, to when I'm giving my opinions, when I am bloviating and commenting, obviously it is my opinions, but I do want it to be insightful and thoughtful, and at all times in line with the Scripture. That's what I strive for. To bring to you in this audience. And I very, very much want you to know that I am, again, so very thankful for your support of this broadcast through the years, and I value each and every one of you in this audience. And it ought to go without saying that I value and honor the truth that the Word of God brings to us, the people of God, into the life issues that we discuss on this broadcast, into the cultural issues that we discuss on this broadcast every week from a biblical worldview, that we've got the map and the compass for our lives in the Word of God. Anyway, I really wanted to lay that out there on this anniversary edition of Open Up the Doors. And as I said, it's been an ongoing and developing journey. And there have been, since those early days, changes. Nothing stays the same, as David Bowie once sang, changes. And now there have been some changes from those early days. It's been a growth it's been a growth. It's been a journey for me. It's been the development of this broadcast. But I want to kind of go back down memory lane a little bit and play in my old intro. And I want to say something. I'm going to play some clips from the early days, but I went back in the archives yesterday. I was trying to find the earliest archived broadcast I could find, because even though this is my anniversary, we really didn't start archiving the broadcast until July, because the very first couple of weeks I was on air, I had Pastor Doug Kinney, who's the president, the founder, whatever word you want to use, of Faith FM. And the first couple of weeks, he sat in with me to teach me how to run the radio soundboard and the computer and the programs, the software programs, the technical things that I had to learn for a couple of weeks before he kind of set me out on my own. But so those first couple of weeks I have no recordings of, and so this is the earliest one I could find. And back in those days, the theme song for the show was that song from the song from Delirious. Did you hear the mountains tremble? And there was a familiar opening. This is what it sounded like 4 years ago, folks. This is an old clip. The program didn't just start. We're going down memory lane a little bit. I think I'm going to sing along with this today. Just loving this tune. Hey, Andy White here. And David, the sweet psalmist of Israel, cried out, "Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be lifted up, you everlasting doors. And the King of glory shall come in." Who is the King of glory? Well, he is the soon-to-return Jesus Christ. And Jesus urges us to open up the door of our hearts and our lives. And he said in Revelation, he said, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and I will have fellowship with him and he with me." So I just want to welcome you to today's show, to open up the doors. And as I said, I'm Andy White, and I'm glad you're tuned in today. I want to welcome you to this week's edition. Boy, was I green. I was listening to these clips last night, and I was like, wow, I was even worse than I thought I was. You got to understand, some folks, up until 4 years ago, I had never done radio in my life, and I was nervous. I was full of anxiety attacks. I was green. And one of the reasons is because that in so many ways, doing radio, I've been speaking in front of audiences for more than half my life, between my music career and my preaching ministry for 37 years. I'm used to speaking in front of people, but people like that I could see. I can't see any of you people here behind the microphone here at Faith FM. Facebook has helped in recent years, but I'll tell you, when I started doing radio, I didn't realize how hard it was. And it's a completely different dynamic from speaking to people who are directly in front of you. And it's been challenging to me on a lot of levels. And boy, like I said, I was listening to some clips last night, and I was like, man, was I ever so green. And quite honestly, I'll be honest with you, it's been 4 years, but every single week before I do a broadcast, I still have butterflies in my stomach. I still have anxiety attacks. But that's because, you know what? I really desire, as Rush Limbaugh would say, excellence in broadcasting. I know that's his line, but that's what I pursue. Excellence in broadcasting. To bring you something, like I said a moment ago, full of integrity and credibility. And it's been an awesome journey. It really has. And that was what it sounded like 4 years ago. And then about a year and a half or so, about a year and a half, actually maybe it was almost 2 years. It was almost 2 years I was doing the program, and I was asked by Pastor Doug if I would be interested in doing an interview with Professor Alan Dershowitz. Now, most of you should know who Professor Alan Dershowitz is. He is a nationally known figure, personality, always on, he's just well known and pretty much well known. And I was excited. It's going to be my first interview, my very first interview with a nationally known personality about a book he had just recently written, which was called The Case Against the Iran Deal. As you should know, Alan Dershowitz is a lawyer. He teaches law. I believe it's at Harvard. He's a law professor, and he opposed the Iranian nuclear deal, even though he voted for Obama, even though he was a friend of Obama, President Obama. He was opposed to the deal vehemently. And Alan Dershowitz is a Democrat. He is a liberal. But when it comes to our stand on Israel, we could agree on that. Anyway, I'm sharing all that to say this. This was going to be my first interview with this nationally known figure, and I was nervous and I was excited, and the disaster and the interview was a near disaster. And I got a little clip of it. I'm going to share with you why it was a near disaster. You got to understand how nervous I was. I never interviewed someone this well known in my entire life and on the radio. So I just wanted everything to just be done right and perfect. But from the get-go, it was bad. Now, I only have about a 2 or 3 minute clip here from a 25-minute interview. And I'm going to tell you, please pardon the noise. There's nothing but static, but that is precisely what I want to share from you and give you the behind-the-scenes things that were going on in me, because I had my headphones on, and all I could hear was this horrible phone static, and it was weird because they never had that problem before. And Doug couldn't figure out where the noise was coming from. And because Doug and Meg take phone calls all the time, the phone lines are always clear. And the minute Alan Dershowitz came on, there was nothing but static. And back then I was wearing these regular cup headphones, and I could hardly hear him talking. But here's a little clip of that. Professor Dershowitz on the phone right now. So I'm going to stop my bloviating. I'm getting a lot of static. Oh, and by the way, you hear that music? We didn't know where that was coming from either. And we're like shutting things down in the studio here. But that was Alan Dershowitz's ringtone on his phone. So as he's about to conduct this interview with me, his phone is ringing with this crazy music ringtone, but we didn't know at the time it was his phone. So between the static and between this music, I'm starting to have this emotional meltdown as I go to speak with them. Hello, Professor Dershowitz, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Hi, thanks for joining me. Open Up the Doors here. I'm Andy White. Welcome to Open Doors. I appreciate you taking the time to join me today. Is that noise coming from your phone?
I don't hear anything.
Oh, I'm hearing a lot of noise in my headset, but that's okay, as long as you're not hearing it. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I wanted to talk to you about your book, The Case Against the Iran Deal.
Yeah.
How can we stop Iran from getting nukes? And like I said, I do appreciate you taking the time.
I'm happy to debate anybody, because this is not about science. This is about policy. This is about, does this deal authorize Iran to develop nuclear weapons in 8.5, 10, 12, or 15 years or not? We don't know the answer to that, and we're being asked to buy a pig in a poke. Congress is not even being shown the side deals that have been made between Iran and the Atomic Energy Commission. Let's see everything. In a democracy, the people have to be informed before they can be asked to make a decision.
Yes. I want to ask you something on a personal level, because
Sure.
obviously from reading the book, you said that President Obama, you've known him a long time.
Yeah.
You've been in the Oval Office. In fact, that's the point. That's what I want to bring up. You write, when President Obama invited me to discuss Iran in the Oval Office just prior to his second election, he looked me straight in the eye, and he assured me that the military option was on the table, and that Iran would not be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. And you state that at least 2 or 3 times in the book. On a personal level, do you feel duped? Do you feel betrayed? Do you feel like he was scammed at all? Do you feel like he was placated?
I feel very disappointed. I'm not sure, as I sit here today, whether the president really had the military option on the table when he spoke to me and he said he did, or whether he changed his mind. If he changed his mind, that's understandable. In fact, in something I wrote shortly thereafter, I said, even though the president told me the military option is off the table, he can't even know what the situation will be like in 2 or 3 years, whether there'd be a realistic military option. So, I'm given the benefit of the doubt and say he changed his policy, but it was a very bad change of policy.
Mm-hmm.
We should have kept the military option off the table. We would have gotten a much, much better deal.
Anyway, there we go. Professor Alan Dershowitz from about 2.5 years ago, actually 2 years ago or so. And I was really sweating bullets during that interview. I really was. But as I'm listening to that clip, and I'll be honest with you, I went through the whole 25-minute interview last night, and I tried to find the most quietest spot, because in some spots the static was really loud. And like I said, it was reverberating in my headphones. I could hardly focus or hear what he was talking about. So here I was doing this interview that I really wanted to go well down. But that aside, as I'm listening to this clip, I started to realize just last night how relevant, just 2.5 years later, how relevant it is, because it was just reported yesterday. You see, what we were talking about in that portion of the clip was how Obama was hiding things from the Congress, and how he was, quote unquote, the administration really was lying to the American people, and they were hiding things from the Congress. Alan Dershowitz knew this. Most of us knew this, except for the Obama sycophants. And just yesterday, it was reported, what so many of us knew and suspected, that the Obama administration lied and covered up its dealings with Iran. And they even broke U.S. law by trying to circumvent our own sanctions against Iran. This was just in the news yesterday. So even though I'm having a little bit of fun with the throwback Thursday here and open up the doors, playing that Dershowitz clip, how relevant it was that we were talking about these things 2 years ago, and Alan Dershowitz saying how disappointed he was. Now he was trying to be diplomatic, because I came right out and said, "Don't you feel betrayed by your friend? He told you something straight to your face, but he lied to you." And I was trying to put Mr. Dershowitz a little bit on the hot seat, knowing he was an Obama supporter. That, man, this guy's your friend. He lied to your face. But he mitigated that by saying, well, I was disappointed, and maybe he changed his policy. And, all the rhetoric that these kind of people fall into when they have to backpedal. But as I said, just yesterday, it was broken through an investigation, a congressional investigation. It was being reported, and a lot of the AP reported it, Reuters reported it, but that the Obama administration try to circumvent our own sanctions against Iran, which was illegal, by the way. And this is really, right now, contemporarily speaking, this is really another huge story of deception and duplicity that the Obama administration, in its deviancy, that unfortunately the mainstream media will ignore and downplay. I've already heard last night they were downplaying this. Oh, it was nothing. It was no big deal. But here's what's been going on, as many of you know. No one from the Obama years, from the FBI to the CIA to the NSA, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, all of these folks that have been the deep state, if you will, all of them, none of them will be held to account from what I've dubbed the crime syndicate of the Obama administration, because that is what they were, my friends. the Obama administration, from Comey to Brennan to Clapper. I mean, just yesterday now we're seeing that former FBI leader, the guy that was under Comey, who took over for Comey, Andrew McCabe. He wants to plead. He wants immunity. He's willing to go in front of the Congress now, but he wants an immunity deal before he testifies. Now, everyone's been saying, "Oh, the FBI isn't corrupt, and the liberals have been carrying the water for them." But if there was nothing wrong, then and he didn't do anything wrong, then what does he want an immunity deal for being prosecuted if he speaks? And he says, "If I don't get an immunity deal, I'm going to plead the fifth." I mean, there is so much stuff that these people are covering up. And I've been telling you folks for a while that this whole Mueller investigation from the get-go has been a diversion and a distraction against the real corruption and the real collusion that was going on between the Democrats and the Hillary campaign. Everything, every single thing that this Mueller investigation has been doing towards Trump is a cover-up for what they were doing on the other side. But I digressed going into that. Because here's the point. And like I said, just playing that Dershowitz clip really brought this to light, since it was just in the news yesterday that the Obama administration helped Iran. They helped Iran utilized sanctioned oil revenue, which again was against the sanctions, which was against the laws. The Obama administration helped them utilize stranded revenue in a foreign bank account in 2016, while, here's the key, while actively misleading Congress about the cooperation. Do you know when you lied to Congress, that is a felony? You're not allowed to lie to Congress. Well, if you're under oath. Maybe these folks weren't under oath, but I won't go down that bunny trail either. But, quote, the Obama administration misled the American people, no joke, and Congress because they were desperate to get a deal with Iran, said Robert Portman, a senator from Ohio, who chairs the Senate panel that conducted this investigation. But like I said, I've digressed a little bit. But before I take a break, I would be remiss in not mentioning that along the journey, that one of the greatest developments in the journey and in the growth of Open Up the Doors was when about 2 years into the show, in fact, it was right after the Alan Dershowitz interview, that a friend and a listener from Ohio asked me if the broadcast was on video on YouTube. I was like, video? I'm barely able to do radio. Nope. We ain't got no video equipment here. And this was actually a little bit before Facebook Live. Facebook Live came out later in the year. But this friend of mine asked me if there was any videos that they could put up on YouTube. And I said, I don't know anything about video. But the Lord blessed me. The Lord blessed Open Up the Doors. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. That Debbie Whitmer. Say hello, Debbie. She's on Facebook Live now. I know she's probably turning all red because she doesn't like to get any recognition, but I'm going to give her recognition because Debbie has helped open up the doors to another level in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, whatever it's been. Because Debbie Whitmer became the video producer and an administrator for the also newly created Open Up the Doors Facebook page that I started about 2 years ago. Now, all of this really is just kind of a short version of the journey of the story, but what a great blessing she has been to this ministry. And all of you listeners who tune in every week have been to this ministry. I got to take a break, and I probably went a little longer. In fact, I didn't probably. I always go longer than I'm supposed to on my opening monologue. But I'm going to take a break. But during the break, if you would just do me a favor right now, please visit the Open Up the Door Facebook page at facebook.com/faithfm91.7 and leave me some comments, and please leave a review on the review tab. That would be such a blessing for me on this 4th anniversary. And when I come back, we'll get to some of the stories of the day. So stick around, folks. Here's a tune by a local Christian praise band, Crossing Jordan. I'll be back in a minute.
You alone are sovereign King. We lift our voices higher to you.
The fusion of heart, mind, and soul. This is Open Up the Doors, celebrating our 4th anniversary. Here with me, your host, Andy White, on Faith FM, WEGB 90.7, and WEGB 90.7 and 93.3 in Epic, WEGQ 91.7 in Quag. And thanks for joining in on this very special edition of Open Up the Doors. I'm glad you're here with us. If you're just tuning in, you can catch the show live on Facebook Live on the Open Up the Doors Facebook page at facebook.com/faithfm 91.7. That's facebook.com/faithfm 91.7. And please like the Open Up the Doors Facebook page if you've never liked it. And I was just thinking as I was listening to my bumper music coming back in about the fusion of heart, mind, and soul. I didn't even come up with that tagline, with that slogan for several months after the program began. I knew I wanted one. And I was kind of back in the early days. I was kind of putting out some feelers, asking for some suggestions from the audience about a tagline. But I just stumbled upon the fusion of heart, mind, and soul one day when I was really thinking about it, and it has stuck ever since. And I just happen to like that because that is what this broadcast is so much about. The fusion of, the Bible says, Jesus said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And that is everything. And what the fusion of heart, mind, and soul conveys in the context of this broadcast is the truthfulness of the Word of God, that transforms us in our soul and our spirit, but mixed in with a little bit of music as well, because music is a big part of who I am. Well, folks, one of the other things that came into being during the course of the journey of Open Up the Doors is when I decided a few months back, after reading so many weird, crazy news reports, that things were just getting really absurd. And since it's been such a long time since I've done a Theater of the Absurd news report, it's time. Yes, my friends, when you hear the sound of the carnival carousel, when you hear the cranking of the melodiously irritating circus barrel organ, that can only mean one thing. It's time for a Theater of the Absurd news update. Real news stories that would make the carnival freak show freaks jealous with envy. So step right up and give an ear, because you won't believe what you're about to hear. Theater of the Absurd news updates are brought to you by 8 Clowns and a Mini Cooper, LLC. All right, so here is this week's winner for the Theater of the Absurd. And actually, I've been sitting on this for a while because I just haven't had an opportunity to do this. But this just, I read this and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It goes back to a couple of weeks ago. But Fox News reported that a Connecticut school called the police after a student makes and points a Lego gun at classmates. Let me read the report here. Police were called to a school in Connecticut after a student built a gun out of Legos, according to a local news report. Authorities were called to Jepson Magnet School in New Haven, Connecticut, after a student, who has not been identified, made the gun. It's Legos! But the student made the gun and started pointing it at other kids. Fox 61 in Connecticut reported. They called the cops on a little kid who made a gun out of Legos. If that's not worthy of the Theater of the Absurd, I don't know what is. In a statement, a spokesman for New Haven Public Schools told the news station that the school leaders and local police partners were able to investigate and resolve the issue. Resolve the issue? A gun made of Legos? They resolved the issue internally with use of, quote-unquote, restorative practices. Do they just take the Legos apart? Yes, restorative practices. Tear those Legos apart. Appropriate steps were taken at the school level to ensure the safety of all students and to impress upon the students the seriousness of engaging in positive peer interactions while avoiding conduct that may pose risk or concern to others. They were stinking Legos. Oh my gosh. All children need to feel safe and secure within the learning environment, and we all have a role to play to make that happen. The statement continued. The spokesperson did not provide any more information to Fox 61, and New Haven Public Schools has not yet returned Fox News' request for additional comment. And because of the age of the perpetrator of this deadly menace, making a gun out of Legos, the identity of the student has been withheld. All right, folks. Does it get any crazier than that? Actually, it does get crazier than that. I got some other theater of the absurds, but I'm gonna save them as well for another time, because I do want to move on to some serious stuff. I wanted to have a little fun with that. I'm sure the kids' parents didn't think it was funny. I'm sure they were like pretty perturbed when they found out the cops were called on their little child because he was playing with his Legos. But in completely unrelated news now, I'll move along. I just wanted to put that out there. It's been some time since we've done a Theater of the Absurd. Theater of the Absurd news updates. Something you will only hear exclusively here on Open Up the Doors. Alrighty, so one of the more serious stories this week. I'll have to put my serious cap on. One of the huge stories this week was, of course, the Supreme Court decision on the Christian baker in Colorado. And in a really tainted and somewhat misleading headline, the New York Times headline was, in narrow decision. When I first read that, I'm saying narrow decision. It was 7-2, but that's not what they were talking about, actually. But in narrow decision, Supreme Court sides with Baker, who turned away the gay couple. Even that's a really a misleading statement, because he didn't turn away the gay couple because they were gay, because he'd been serving them. They were customers of his. He even told me that he'd make them a birthday cake. It was the wedding. The wedding's the issue, and these people just don't want to get that point. And, of course, I heard the news on Monday when we were up in Albany for the March for Life. And, of course, when I first heard the news that the Supreme Court came out on the Baker's side, whose name is Jack Phillips, by the way, I was very excited. So was the crowd. We all cheered and we all shouted. And I was very happy to hear that we got this Supreme Court case. And it was 7-2. However, there was a big caveat. I wish I could say a win is a win is a win. However, when you dig down into the details of the decision, the Supreme Court case really didn't answer the most fundamental question of whether a person has a right to run their business according to their personal convictions. The court really did not address the core issue, believe it or not. The court did not address the core issue of whether you or I have a personal individual right to live and do business according to our conscience and according to our conscience and to do business as we see fit according to our personal faith. As the New York Times rightly pointed out, despite the rather disparaging and misleading headline, the Supreme Court on Monday ruled in favor of a Colorado baker who had refused to create a wedding cake for a gay couple. The court's decision was narrow. It's the important point. The court's decision was narrow, and it left open the larger question of whether a business can discriminate against gay men. I wouldn't use that word, but I'm just quoting out of the New York Times. Whether a business can discriminate against gay men and lesbians based on rights protected by the First Amendment. The court passed, basically punted, The court passed on an opportunity to either bolster the right to same-sex marriage or to explain how far the government can go in regulating businesses run on religious principles. Instead, Justice Anthony M. Kennedy's majority opinion turned on the argument that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission, which originally ruled against the baker, had been shown to be hostile to religion because of the remarks of one of its members. Writing for the majority in the 7-2 decision, Justice Kennedy said the Civil Rights Commission ruling against the baker, Jack Phillips, had been infected by religious animus. He cited what he said were inappropriate and dismissive comments from one commissioner in saying that the panel had acted inappropriately and that its decision should be overturned. So, in effect, really, what they decided, as I said, and as New York Times has stated, and many others have stated now since I've done the homework on it, really what they decided was not the core issue. Rather, they overturned the case based more on some technicalities regarding how the Colorado Commission handled, or rather mishandled, the case. One commentator correctly noted, quote, "In the end, Masterpiece Cake Shop barely resolves anything and doesn't even touch the free speech claim at the center of the case. Instead, it punts that question, leaving lower courts and American society to continue fighting." So I hate to be the fly in the ointment of what we thought was good news. And in all fairness, it was good news to Jack Phillips. He is still vindicated, and he has still won his case. But the larger issue still has not been resolved, my friends. And the real test will be the next case that comes up. And the next case is coming up with Barronelle Stutzman, who was the florist from, I forgot what it was, I think in Washington State. NBC News just yesterday reported, after a narrow Supreme Court decision on Monday declined to offer clear legal precedent on whether businesses can refuse to offer services for gay weddings, a Washington florist could bring the issue back to the High Court. In fact, it will be, assuming they've accepted the case. In Monday's Supreme Court ruling, Justice Anthony Kennedy suggested that future cases would be necessary to settle the broader debate between religious rights and discrimination. And I really don't like that word discrimination, because none of these people have discriminated against homosexuals, against gay people. In fact, Barronelle Stutzman had gay people working for her. The people that were suing her for the wedding cake were long-time customers of hers. So it's not a discrimination case. We have our moral convictions regarding marriage. And unfortunately, this is what the world just doesn't want to accept. But Barronelle Stutzman's case is important, and we need to pray for this woman that the Supreme Court does take it up, and that hopefully they will, like they did with Jack Phillips, rule in her favor, because Barronelle Stutzman, she's on the line for losing everything, including her home. She's lost her business. The state's gone after every single thing she owns, and it's an outrage. And I'll say it again, we really need to pray that the court upholds her rights when it comes up for before the court. I just got a text. Oh, no, never mind. I won't. Pastor Doug, yes, I saw that. Thanks for the heads up. Behind some scenes things going on here, folks. But anyway, getting back to these cases, as I've stated on several occasions, these Christian businesses are being targeted by liberals and by the Gestapo, the gay militants, and I am still waiting. I really am. I am still waiting for them to try their stunts on a Muslim business. But we all know why they won't. Because their hypocrisy is 50 shades of yellow. All right, I am running out of time, big time. And I did want to touch upon the March for Life this past Monday that I attended up in Albany with March for Life New York. And I want to share some highlights, and I want to give some challenges to the church in general regarding pro-life activism and the March for Life New York. But first off, I want to state this. I want to sincerely tip my hat to Pastors Jim and Joni Lupus of Grace and Truth Church in Coram, New York. Because here we have two pastors of a very small church who are making a huge impact in the state of New York regarding a pro-life presence. Here we have a handful, and I really mean a handful of people from a small church, not some mega church. These mega churches have these large budgets, and they're able to get things done. But here we have this small church, not with the large budget of a mega church, getting things done that are very difficult, my friends, to get done. It takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of energy when so many people would rather just sit on the sidelines and watch. But Jim and Joni Lupus, they managed to get things done, which so often takes large organizations to get done. I want to tell you, March for Life New York is not a large organization. We hope to change that. But in order to get the march in Albany and the rally off the ground and running, they worked themselves to the bones, and especially Pastor Joni Lupus. So again, I want to publicly commend her for a job well done. I want to tip my hat to everyone who's involved with the New York March for Life. But I also want to say this. Church, listen up. Those of you who claim to be pro-life, listen up. We all say we're pro-life. We all say we want to take the stand. But we need more warriors for this fight. We need more warriors for the battle. And that's one of the things that March for Life New York really, really needs. We need you. We need your help. We need laborers for this fight, the fight to stand up for life. So I want to ask you, would you like to put your hand to the plow in this area of pro-life activism? Stop sitting on the couch, as they say on March for Life Radio. Do something. We need the laborers for the fields. March for Life New York needs your help. So please, I want to urge you, pray about it and then do something about it. Call Pastor Joni Lupus over at the Grace and Truth Church in Coram, or visit the March for Life New York web page or the March for Life Facebook page. But contact Pastor Joni Lupus. Contact Pastor Jim Lupus. Whatever talent you have, trust me, it will be put to good use. We need administrators. We need coordinators. We need people that know how to motivate other people and people that know how to get things done. Because this is what it's about. It's about getting things done. Not just sitting back and moaning and groaning about how bad the situation is. And the situation could get a lot worse in New York, my friends. New York is just a few Senate votes away from becoming the most horrific, and it already is the most horrific. I shouldn't even say becoming. It already is the most horrific, most pro-abortion state in America. But our governor and our liberal politicians and elected officials, they want to expand abortion rights in this country. We need your help. March for Life needs your help. March for Life needs people who know how to get things done. Because March for Life New York is about networking and bringing together the diverse and various ministries throughout the pro-life movement. It's about educating people regarding pro-life issues. It's about helping those who've gone through the trauma. This is important. Let me say this again. It's about helping people who've gone through the trauma of abortion to help heal emotionally and to find forgiveness through the gospel of Jesus Christ. I have so much I could share, but I'm running out of time. I really am. But one thing about the March for Life New York is that I see a real diversity of both people and ministries. It's all about that networking, who are called and appointed and anointed by God to fight this battle. People with powerful testimonies and the call of God upon their lives to equip them for the battle. And I wish I had more time to share about some of the things that happened upstate in Albany. But we had a good group of people come out and rally and demonstrate, and a lot of people went in and lobbied for their senators, lobbied their legislatures. Folks, we live here in a state where political leaders like Governor Cuomo, like I said a moment ago, is pushing for expanding abortion. where elected leaders like Kirsten Gillibrand, Chuck Schumer continually vote for the continuation of what is essentially infanticide and genocide. We need to be a people that are standing up and speaking, my friends. The world is trying, and unfortunately with great success on their part, they're continually trying to marginalize and minimize the voice of the church. Your convictions, your faith, your beliefs, both yours and mine, are being marginalized and minimized. But in any event, my friends, we at Open Up the Doors is a broadcast that will continue to talk about and to address these cultural and societal issues of our times from a biblical worldview. And I will continue to discuss how the current events of the day impact our faith and liberties, along with the prophetic significance and impact upon the church. And I want to close out with this tune today.
Where the glory of the Lord will be revealed to every man.
Because this has become our new theme for Open Up the Doors, as many of you know.
Open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in. Open the door, open the door, open the door, and let the King of Glory in.
I don't play the whole tune very often, but I hope this broadcast has been a blessing to you.
He makes a brand new way. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. His mercies are here to stay. There's a new day dawning. Time is at hand, where the glory of the Lord will be revealed to every man. Open the door, open the door, open
All right, it's the fusion of heart, mind, and soul. Hey, folks, join me next week. I'm going to have Mideast expert and author Joel Richardson on for the whole hour for an interview you don't want to miss. In the meantime, folks, have a great week. God bless you. I'll be here next week with Joel Richardson. Tune in. God bless everybody. And keep it right here on Faith FM.